Hey, Martin here. Today we're excited to announce RemNote 1.19, which brings a ton of new tables features. We have new simple tables, advanced tables, tables flashcards, and more. We think that tables are a great way to organize and learn structured information. So let's jump right into it. First, we've added new simple tables, which you can add anywhere in your notes. To do so, go to the bottom toolbar and either press simple table here, or just type /simple table anywhere you want to add one. Simple tables are just a grid of cells. You can type in any of these cells, and you can format them, turn them into flashcards, and manipulate them in a variety of ways. First, click on the three-dot menu on any row, column, or cell to apply formatting: bold, italic, alignment, text colors, highlights, and more. You can also add multiple nested bullets within each cell still. So if I go and change this to a bullet list here, you can see that every cell now lets me type multiple bullets in it, perfect for when I have multiple pieces of information I want to store. We've tried to make simple tables really easy to manipulate, so you can just click and drag to add as many rows as you want, or as many columns, or both at once. You can select any cells and then apply formatting to all of them in a single go. You can delete rows, delete columns, etc., and just get to your desired state as quickly as possible. If you don't want these headers, you can hide and show them right from the menu here, disabling either the row or the column part. And if you start writing a lot of different text in each of your cells, and they start wrapping like this, then you can either click and drag to expand the row, or just press this button here to fit it to the screen, which will take up all the available document width. We think that simple tables are particularly useful for flashcards. So, for example, if I have a table of my amino acids here, I can go and enable a flashcard that will test me on each cell one by one independently by clicking on the flashcard button here, and then either selecting Show Entire Table or Test Individual Cells. A flashcard button automatically appears on each column, where you can then enable or disable individual cells. In this mode, you'll see the full contents of your table as context, and all the cards from this table will be clustered together so that you can practice them one by one in order. For example, we're first being tested on the 3-letter code for glycine. After grading ourselves on that, we'll then go on to the next column here, the 1-letter code, and then we can just continue through each of these cells one by one. If I get a cell wrong, or if I just grade it with any of the spaced repetition options here, it'll go off on its own spaced repetition schedule. So you're still going to get the optimal practice experience for every single cell based on how well you remember that specific piece of information. If you don't want to test yourself on one of these columns, maybe we want to disable essential here, then you can just go to your cell's header at the top here and toggle enable flashcards for this column. Only the columns which you have enabled will be tested. If I wanted, I could then enable some specific piece of information here. Maybe I want to test myself on valine specifically. So if I go and enable that, then we can see that this column now has 1 enabled cell and 12 disabled ones. Of course, these flashcards work with all the other formatting features, so I can still go ahead, take my table here, and quickly make it look a bit nicer, maybe add some background color, right align these here, and I could continue to do that for all the other cells as well. In your queue, you'll see the same formatting, look and feel of the table that you're used to from the editor. Sometimes you want to test yourself on multiple pieces of information at once. Maybe we want to remember both the 3-letter and the 1-letter code together here. To do so, we can go to the 3-letter code column, press Configure Cards, and then also show the 1-letter code on the back. If we go and check how this looks, then you can see that it'll test us on both of these pieces of information, and they'll both be revealed together. There are 2 different modes for tables flashcards. The first is when you can see the entire table on your flashcard as context all at once. Sometimes you might not want that if you want to focus on individual pieces of information, or if you want to ensure that the answer is not spoiled by the context. For that, you can switch the cards option here away from show entire table to test individual cells. If we go back, we can see that it'll now test us on each piece of information one by one. In either case, you're still getting that same spaced repetition experience with a separate scheduler for each cell, as is best, but this is just a different way to focus on individual pieces of content. You can put tables anywhere in your notes. Another useful case is to put them on the back of your flashcards. For example, in biology, I can now make a card that shows the Punnett square for an autosomal recessive inheritance on the back of this card here. To do so, again, I can just go ahead and type simple table, and then fill this out with my desired information. If we look at the preview, we can see that the entire table appears on the back of the card. And of course, I can still add other bullet points or other information as well. Simple tables are completely standalone. If I go ahead and delete this entire table here, it's totally gone from my knowledge base. I don't need to worry about its contents anymore. In addition to simple tables, we've also taken the existing tables feature, renamed it to advanced tables, and given it a number of nice upgrades. First, let's go and recreate this amino acid table I have here, but using an advanced table instead of a simple table. I'll create another document for biology here, and then I can just go and type /advanced to add an advanced table, or I can again go to the bottom toolbar and add it from there. After adding it, I can then give my advanced table a name. In this case, I'll just call it my amino acids. Now you can see that we're automatically getting AI suggestions for what columns I might want to add to my table. In this case, the things I might want to learn about amino acids. If I just press tab once, then we're automatically getting those columns added, and now we also see the potential rows I could add here. If I press tab again, it will add those rows and then quickly fill out all the information for my entire table. So now I have a full table of all the main 20 amino acids here, and if I want to, I can then again just go and press the cards button to enable either the show entire table mode or test individual cells. So in one go, we just made a ton of different flashcards here, which I could then begin practicing. Of course, you don't have to accept those AI suggestions. So as another use case, let's go and set up a sort of reading list for ourselves. Here I'll again go and make a new advanced table and call this my reading list. This time I'm not going to accept the AI suggestions, and I'll just add columns myself using the plus button here. You can see that we still can accept individual one of these if we want, so I actually probably do want to know the author, and that seems good. And then maybe I want to know the status for if I've finished reading this piece of knowledge or not. I can then go and press the single select option here, and then name this to status, and then give it a few different options for if I've finished, if I'm done, if I'm currently in progress, I'm still reading this, or if it's a to-do item. Then I can go and add all the pieces of information that I want. So maybe I want to read some fantasy and sci-fi here. However, I don't want to have to fill out this author column myself. To fix that, I can go ahead and click on the author column and then toggle on AI autofill here. After toggling that on, we can see that the entire column has immediately been filled out. If I go and add another new row here, let's say for Game of Thrones, then as soon as I exit out of editing that, then the author appears on this column too. And if I were to go to edit these names, then all the AI autofill cells would update as well to keep themselves in sync. If I wanted to, I could then keep on adding to my table using different checkboxes, dates, single selects, multi-selects, URLs, whatever I want to store. Advanced tables let you zoom in to any of the individual rows to add more notes there. For example, if I started to read Harry Potter, I can go and press the bullet point next to it to zoom into the row. Here I can then add my notes or any ideas I have about this row, in this case this book that I'm reading, and they'll all be stored safely in the cell there. If I know that this is a table where I'll be frequently opening up the rows, then you can go click on the name column here and press turn every row into a document. This will have a document button automatically appear on every cell, as well as an open button on hover, which lets me open it up as a full row using the same action as that bullet point. Advanced tables also come with a number of useful searching, filtering, and sorting features. For example, let's go ahead and add this extra column here for genre, and we can see that it immediately gets filled out. Now I can go ahead and filter this down so that I only show my sci-fi options right here. We could also then go and add another view of the same reading list table here that doesn't show the sci-fi, but shows the fantasy books instead. To do so, you can again go below and type table, but now select new table view for an existing table or tag. Here we can then select our reading list, and we can see that by default it'll show all the rows from this table above. Here, this is a special sort of secondary table, which is indicated by this little arrow here. When you add a row to either of the tables, it'll appear in both of them, and that's because these are actually the same table, just showing the data in different ways. Because this is a different view of the table, I can then go and filter it in a different way. So I can then go and set the filter here for fantasy instead of sci-fi. And if I wanted to, I can then go and edit the name of the table to be my fantasy books. This works even if it's in a different document or in a totally different place in your knowledge base. For example, I could just go to my today's note here, and again, do the same thing, where when I pull it in, we see the full reading list table here too. Advanced tables also still support all the other existing tables features, including sorting, searching, templates, etc. For example, I can still go and create a new template here for my book notes, where I could add a few sections that I want to write about for each of my notes. When I then go and open up one of these, I can just select the template here and have that automatically applied. Just like simple tables, advanced tables are now standalone. If I went and added a new advanced table here and filled it out with some information, then when I were to delete this table, the entire thing would be deleted. No longer do you have some separate tag or separate rem created in your knowledge base. However, if you wish, you can still use tables along with the existing tag features. For example, let's imagine that we're in our today's note and we have some new book that we want to add to our reading list. To do so, we could just add a new bullet here, put in the name of our book, and then use the double hashtag once and then twice to tag it with our reading list. After selecting that, if we go back to our original table, then we can see that it's been added here, and again with the AI autofill options automatically filled in if you want that. This makes tables really flexible, as you can either use them completely standalone without ever thinking about tags, or if you want to start pulling in information from throughout your knowledge base, you can do so as well. You can also now bulk edit rows. Click the checkbox next to the row to select it, or click the one at the top to select all the rows at once. Now, let's say that I want to set the status here to reading if I started reading all these at once. If I select this here, it edits all these. It's also now much easier to bring tables into RemNote. You can copy tables from anywhere on the web or an Excel document or anywhere else, and then when you paste them into RemNote, then they'll appear automatically as a grid table. For example, you could start a ChatGPT session and then bring your table into right here, or you could just do it from the built-in AI tutor too. If you have some handwritten notes or just a screenshot of the table you want to bring in, well, then you can just go ahead and paste that as an image into the RemNote editor. Then from the three-dot menu, click AI Convert to Text. This will use AI to read out your table and then automatically convert it into a nicely formatted RemNote table for you. This works both with text as well as text interleaved with other kind of headers, other normal text, formulas, etc. Finally, we've added improved text-to-speech and type-in answer for your tables. Let's check this out with a table of some Spanish vocab. If I go and add my advanced table here, my Spanish vocab, then I'll just add some columns myself for the word in Spanish and maybe the part of speech, and I'll edit the name column here to be the word in English. Then I can fill this out with a few different words here. Again, I've enabled the AI autofill, so it's nicely got filled out. And then I can go and enable flashcards for my column, and for these cards, I can enable both the text-to-speech as well as the type-in answer. The text-to-speech voices now use premium 11 Labs voices, which are a more sophisticated AI text-to-speech model. These should have accurate pronunciation, making this ideal for language learning. Now, if I go to practice this, then we can type in our answer here and get automatically graded by the tutor, as well as press these buttons to have the text-to-speech automatically read out the answer with accurate pronunciation. So that's it. We've added simple tables, advanced tables, flashcard tables, and a ton of different upgrades that make it easier for you to create, manipulate, and organize your structured data in RemNote. When learning, we think it's really helpful to have some schema or something that helps you to tie together ideas and organize them, and the structure that a table provides is often a great solution for that kind of knowledge. For this update, and for all of our updates, we've also made hundreds of other smaller bug fixes and improvements throughout the app. Both the bug fixes and these features have been extremely heavily prioritized based on you, our community's feedback. For example, we've tried to go through as many of the tables requests as we can in this update and mark them as done in the community forum here, including these that I have open here, as well as many others. And we're going to continue to do that. Your feedback is super helpful to us, and together we're trying to build the best app that exists for learning, thinking, and organizing your knowledge. That's it, and happy learning.